Howdy folks, LaCourse here, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada with a special Hearts of the West video showcase. It is Cowboy Poetry Week and I have had 6 poets and performers this week on the showcase, and I have posted a new showcase every day, and this is the last showcase to celebrate Cowboy Poetry Week. And it is going to be the roundup with one of my favorite gals, and that is Miss Susie Knight. And Susie is here on the showcase tonight to wrap up this Cowboy Poetry Week. But before we see Susie, I'm going to recite one of my original poems, and it is titled The Real Deal by LaCourse. There's a dolly who shines like a penny. She's working hard, her hats are many. A winning hand, her talent is her brand. She can rodeo and swing, play guitar and sing, and perform a recitation with little or no hesitation. WMACD and WMA Female Poet of the Year. Her poem Grandma will bring a tear. Her rhyme and meter perfection. I tell ya, her poetry with me is in my obsession. From Turn 'em Loose to Riders When They Call, a heart so big it makes Texas look small. My admiration may make her blush. She always inspires. Whew! It's a rush. So keep on filling tanks and reciting Queen of the Auctioneers. Your poem's a legacy for all to hear. The subject of this poem I now reveal. Miss Susie Knight, a mentor, a friend. She is the real deal. Take it, Susie, it's yours. Good night, folks.
Greetings, my name is Susie Knight, and we're celebrating Cowboy Poetry Week. So I'll kick it off with one of my original poems called Grandma. As morning peeks its nose out, before alarm clocks chime, the rooster in the barnyard announces that it's time for hired hands and children to hustle out of bed. 'Cause on this ranch, expect to work if you plan on getting fed. Well, that's what Grandma told us, and we understood it too, 'cause long before the rooster crowed, guess what Grandma'd do? She'd mix up homemade biscuits and put them in to bake, then milk at least 10 Jersey cows by hand for goodness sake, and feed 30 bucket calves and all the chickens too, and slop the hogs. And finally, her morning chores were through. She carried water from the well several times a day for washing stuff and cooking things from scratch, the country way. Bent over an old washboard, she'd scrub her dirty clothes and then hang 'em in the sun to dry and work on mending those that were tattered, but still able to be handed down again to one of our young cousins who lived just around the bend. And there weren't no fast food joints nearby, so she could take a break from cooking 3 meals every day, 7 days a week for all the hired men, us kids, and Grandpa too. I'm still amazed at all the different recipes she knew. I wonder if a woman of this era could survive and do the work my grandma did since 1935 for 7 days. I wonder, would she be late to milk the cow? 'Cause she'd need to fix her makeup and curl her hair or tweeze her brow. When she'd go to slop the hogs, would she have to hold her nose? Would she pack 6 loads of water just to hand wash dirty clothes? Well, I can guarantee this test would absolutely fail as soon as our ranch wife wannabe would break her sculptured nail. But Grandma she'd understand. That's just how she was. She gave of her life as a helpmate to that man she'd always loved. And no one had to wonder if her self-esteem was high. Well, folks didn't worry on such things. There simply wasn't time. And her counselor was the meadow. There she spoke with God above, renewing her strength for tomorrow and overflowing with his love. You know, when most folks think of beauty, a magazine model comes to mind. But I recall that woman whose face was fully lined with years of work and sacrifice 'neath the hot Dakota sun. And her eyes revealed a woman I hoped one day I'd become. And that's my poem about Grandma. I wrote this song about the windmills that I see all along the drive on my way back to South Dakota to visit my family on the Circle M Ranch. And when I came home once after a visit and I had written this song on the way and back, I asked my late husband, Dave, who was a water well man, worked on windmills for many years, installed them and repaired them. I asked him, tell me how the windmill, how it operates. And I understood some of the terminology because I liked to help him when he would work. And so this song / poem was created, and it's called The Windmill Sound. I hear the wind as it'll spin the windmill. Oh, cattle know it's where they'll go for water. They face the wind and hear the windmill spinning round. They're in a sound you'll hear around these sand hills, except the wind as it'll spin the windmill round. Ooh, that's just the wind and the windmill sound. I'm told this well was dug by hand by Grandpa years ago. This well is not as deep as some, just 50 feet or so. This windmill now is steel. Back then was oak so strong. It stands here on a ranch and hums a guardian angel song. It spins around with breezes, gale, gust, and curl. The gears will turn the pitman arm and cause the wheel to whirl. With every revolution that the windmill turns around, the sucker rod brings water from a fountain underground. Sometimes sometimes it's still upon these hills in summer. No, that's when we pray for drought to stay far from us, and beg the wind to spin the windmill round and round. I hear the check valve clicking as it opens, and it spills the water to the cattle as the stock tank slowly fills. And then a second click I hear. The sucker rod goes down to fill the leathers full again from a fracture underground. I trust the tail rudder, guided by the slightest breeze, to turn the wheel to face the wind, effortless with ease. Now generations vanished, yet this giant's still around, 'cause Grandpa saw the need to orchestrate the windmill sound. There ain't a sound you'll hear around these sand hills, except the wind as it'll spin the windmill round, round, round. Ooh, ooh, that's just the wind and the windmill sound. No violin can match the wind and the windmill sound. Have a little sip of water, a little dry. There's a poem I like to perform. It's written by Jeff Carson. He's out of Heber City, Utah, and he gave me permission to perform this poem from time to time, and it's included on my new CD called Turn 'Em Loose, and I wish I'd written it. It's one of my favorite poems to perform. It's called Holding the Reins. Well, he stood in a pen in an auction yard with a nervous and uncertain eye. I thought it was strange a horse of his caliber sent here, where crippled ones die, so I looked him over from head to toe, searching for some kind of flaw. He was some underfed, had a scar on his head, and one on his left lower jaw. He was nervous and skittish as I walked around. He wasn't sure what I had planned, but it was easy to tell why this horse was for sale. He'd been handled with a rough, heavy hand. He had battle scars on the sides of his mouth, the result of fighting the bit, and sores on his back from improper tack. Here, where the saddle should fit. Well, as I stood in the pen, the owner walked in and said, "Pardner, you're wasting your time. He's an outlaw for sure, for which there is no cure. Believe me, he ain't worth a dime. He ain't got no sense. He'll run you right through a fence. Ones like him are better off dead. There's no way to train that knothead to reign. As I listened to the words that he said, I remembered a poem I heard one time. A poem about an old violin. It was taken for naught, not much worth, so they thought. And like this horse, well, it was in the bargain bin. Till a withered old man, with wrinkled up hands and hair as white as the snow, picked up that violin, and with the slightest a grin, introduced fiddle to bow. Oh, it obeyed every command at the touch of his hand, but then he never missed a note. Oh, the music so sweet brought the crowd to their feet, and some had a lump in their throat. What they once took for naught, now the entire crowd sought to own such a fine set of strings. The difference was made because the master had played. And so it is with all other things, whether it's horses or life or an old violin. The wise one, he understands when good music is played, when good horses are made. It's all in the touch of the hands. So, partner, this horse that you're leaving here, the one you say is bad to the bone, before he's sold to some bidder, you may reconsider. Maybe the fault is your own. And if he can't get the desired results that you want, do something more than complain. Take a deep look inside. Maybe swallow your pride. 'Cause it's you that's holding the rein. Sorry, I get a little choked up on that one. Let's cheer things up a little bit, okay? I hope I don't mess it up. This one is a classic song written by Leroy Van Dyke. I'm gonna try to sing part of it. There was a boy from Arkansas, wouldn't listen to his mom. She told him to go to school. He'd sneak away in the afternoon, take a little walk. Pretty soon, he'd find him at the local auction barn. He'd stand and listen carefully. Pretty soon, he began to see how the auctioneer could talk so rapidly. He said, oh my, it's do or die. Gotta learn that auction cry, make my mark and be an auctioneer. $25, 30, will you give me 30 to make it 30? Bid it up to $30, would you give me $30? Who'll bid a $30, who'll bid a $30 bid? I bid 30 now, 5, will you make it 35? And I bid a 35, will you give me the other 5? Who will bid that $35 bid? Now from the start, he didn't jest. All could see he did his best. Practice chanting calls day and night. He practiced chanting behind the barn, whooping up an awful storm as he tried to imitate that auctioneer. His pa said, son, we just can't stand to have a mediocre man selling things, using our good name. I'll send you off to auction school. There you'll be nobody's fool. You can take your place among the best. $35, 40, will you give me 40, make it 40, bid it up to $40, would you give me $40, who'll bid a $40, who'll bid a $40 bid? I'm at 40 now, 5, will you give me 45? Bid of 45, make it 45. Who bid it up, $45 bid? Now from that boy that went to school, there came a man who played it cool. He came back home a full-fledged auctioneer. People would come from miles around just to hear him make that rhythmic sound. They filled their hearts with just such a happy cheer. There's a lot of words in the song, and really fast too. His fame went out from shore to shore. He had all he could do and more. Had to buy a plane just to get around. Now he's the best in all the land. Let's pause and give that man a hand. He's the best hillbilly auctioneer. $45, 50, will you give me 50, make it 50, bid it up to $50, would you bid a $50, who'll bid a $50, who'll bid a $50 bid? I'm in 50 now, 5, will you bid a 55, and I make it 55, bid a 55, who'll bid a that $55 bid? I know what you want me to go faster. Okay, try. $45, 50, will you give me 50, make it 50, bid it up to $50, will you give me $50, who'll bid a $50, who'll bid a $50 bid? I'm bid 50 now, 5, will you make it 55, and a bid of 55, bid of 55, who'll a bid of that $55 bid? I sold that horse for the $55 bid. I'm Susie Knight. Have a great Cowboy Poetry Week.